Hello. Well, I think I might make a couple of videos in honor of Christmas, but this one is probably the most important. We've got a lot to look back on in the last year, which is, for many people, not very nice. And we also have to, some Americans might be looking forward to a not very nice future with regard to the political situation. And it's no use us over here in the UK or even in Australia saying, oh, well, that's nothing to do with us, because of course it is to do with us and we're all interlinked. Even if we weren't all in the Anglosphere and affect each other, not only economically, but also culturally. Bit by bit, the whole Anglosphere is converging, isn't it? Without anyone actually making any legal representations. I have said in a previous video that the problem with the EU is not that it wasn't a nice idea, it was a marvellous idea. The problem is it was artificial. And because it was artificial, it doesn't really work. These sorts of social movements work only when they happen naturally, organically, if you want to be if you want to use a modern phraseology that sounds more ecologically correct, or whatever the phrase is now. But yeah, that's it. The EU is an inorganic construction, and for that reason it doesn't work properly, and it will never work properly. It might be propped up for a few years like the Soviet Union, which was also an inorganic construction, but it'll run into the buffers sooner or later, and more sooner than later. However, the Anglosphere is converging, and it's converging because it is a child of the modern world, the interconnected world, the internet world. The EU is a child of a 19th century concept which has to do with train travel and wind-up telephones and telegrams maybe, and that sort of thing. Anyway, but that's not what I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to talk to you about how we have a sort of an exemplar both of the destructiveness of the EU and the idea of Christmas as a time of hope. Whether you're a Christian or not, I'm sure that the idea of Christmas is not lost on you, that it's a time when you can, unless you're really some religious fanatic, it's a time when the birth of a child has been used as a metaphor for a renewal and a chance of better things happening later on. Now, you may not think better things are going to happen, as I said, especially if you're on a certain political side and in America. But better things do happen, and they come out of the most surprising setbacks. For instance, there's this. It says here, well, maybe you don't know, I think most people do though, that with the new strain of coronavirus, which was identified in the United Kingdom, but actually it did not originate here. I think the last I heard of it, it probably originated in Brazil, and it's obviously all over the world, and there's no big deal about it. I mean, being specifically British. But France decided to close the borders, even though it meant stranding a lot of lorries on the British side. Now, what they could have done if they were really worried, which I know they're not because it's all over Europe as well, they just haven't found it in France yet. Apparently they don't do such deep dive tests in France as they do here, so it's probably all over France as well. But what they could have done was told the lorry drivers, they have to, most of them, apparently a lot of Polish lorry drivers, they could go to wherever they're going, but they have to fill up in Britain and just keep on going and not get out of their vans. They could do that, but obviously they wanted to punish Britain. So we have this picture here of lorries backed up in Dover. Now, the French think, oh yeah, we've shown the British what's what, but what they have done is they've shown these Polish drivers they're not going to get home for Christmas. I mean, that's just vindictive. That's nasty, that's mean, that's simple spite. And there's no other way of saying it. But out of that, as bad as the situation is, we have this. I want to tell you, I was very privileged once to be a guest at a Gurdwara and attend a Sikh service, religious service. And I've got a lot of time for the Sikhs. They were hospitable, happy, generous, kind, and educated. And I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about university education, although no doubt many of them did have university education. No, but I mean educated in the sense that they were informed about the world. They weren't in their own, they had their own communities, but they weren't insular. Anyway, that was the opinion I formed of them. And here we see them just bearing out my good opinion of them here. So there are all these lorries backed up. There are some more really awful photos showing huge car parks just filled with container lorries like this. And it says here, members of the Sikh community in Kent have made more than 800 hot meals for truckers stranded due to border closures. In less than a week, the UK's dynamic with other countries across Europe and the world has drastically shifted due to concerns over a new strain of COVID-19. Now, almost 60 nations have enforced travel bans on people entering from the UK. Well, that's probably panic, but let's see. Here we are. Sorry, a window closed on me. Most notably, France closed its border with the UK. I might say that Ireland is suffering from this. Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, still a member of the EU, because a lot of their stuff comes in trucks across Britain. So France has really shot itself in the foot there. It showed just how dreadful the EU can be, how drunk on the power that it has. France closed it. I don't know why the cursor's changed here. Anyway, closed its borders with the UK, leaving lorries stranded from the Kent port all along the M20 motorway and beyond, with drivers left with nothing to do but wait. Kind-hearted volunteers are making sure they don't go hungry. So here, this person says, our thanks to the Kent Sikh community, especially Guru Nanak Gurdwara, Gravesend, for preparing meals on short notice. If there are any more truckers, I know lots of people won't be able to invite the truckers to their houses because of, restrictions. But I do hope that the people of Kent are going to be taking some of their Christmas dinners, getting some sort of Christmas dinner sorted out for these stranded men. Let's see the next one. There we are. The Gravesend Gurdwara worked together with Khalsa Aid, a Sikh humanitarian relief charity, to turn around hundreds of hot dishes at short notice in Gurdwara's Langar kitchen. Yes, as far as I know, all Gurdwaras have kitchens and they prepare meals after the services. It's always that, you can trust people who have a religious service and then go and have a slap-up meal, can't you? Enabled by the will of many volunteers and cooperation with Kent Police and the County Council. They all got together, didn't they? Even the much maligned police. Temple leaders had received the call at around 12 p.m. yesterday, December the 22nd, and quickly got to work as part of a collective effort with local authorities. A total of 500 chickpea curries and 300 mushroom and pasta dishes were made. You see, our teams are out there in the rain with the Kent Police, Coast Guard and Highways Agency distributing hot meals to truck drivers caught up in Operation Stack on the M40. Next bit. Jagdev Singh Verdi, spokesman for the Guru Nanak Darbar, said, as per Kent Online, Khalsa Aid got in touch this morning and by 2:30 they came to collect the food. We made some phone calls to get volunteers together because we are already doing Langar where we deliver to vulnerable people. Meals were then delivered throughout the day to lorries with the assistance of a police escort to ensure smooth travel. Manpreet Singh Dhaliwal, president of the Gurdwara, told ITV News, that's just part of Sikhism. Yes, it is. It really is. It's sharing your wealth with others, so we've got plenty of stock and we'd love to share it with other people. More than 2,850 lorries have been waiting to leave the UK. Can you imagine that? And the French knew what they were doing. They could have escorted these lorries through and off their territory into isolation, but they didn't want to do that. They wanted to lumber Britain with a problem just before Christmas. And they thought that this would show how powerful they were and punish Britain. But instead what they've done is they've given the Sikhs a chance to show their generosity and kindness, and also the people of Britain, how we can get things done even in the teeth of, French spite. And it's just France, because I don't think the other members of the EU wanted this at all. Only essential travel will be permitted, including the stranded lorry drivers, French citizens and British citizens with French residency. I don't know what that's from. Okay, number 5. Yeah, the French government has permitted the use of lateral flow tests on drivers. Don't know what that is, which turnaround results in around 30 minutes. Should a driver test positive, they'll be given a more accurate PCR test to confirm the result. As for how long it'll take to clear the backlog of lorries, Transport Secretary Grant Shapps says it will be 2 or 3 days, meaning some drivers may not be home for Christmas. And that's all the fault of the French. They could have dealt with this on their side. They could have, as I said, if these lorries were going back somewhere else, Poland or something, they could have escorted them to the border, but no, just look at this photo. They were just trying to punish Britain. Well, they've punished these poor buggers who are not going to be with their families for Christmas. But they haven't punished Britain. In fact, they've just shown up exactly how bad they are and how great we are with our local communities. And again, I want to suggest that all the churches who might be in the Kent area get together and keep up the flow, as well as the Gurdwaras, of course.